Open your Bible to Genesis chapter 33. Now, the last time we were together, Jacob is leaving his uncle and he's headed back home to go and be with his original family. And it is time for him to meet his brother Esau, whom he hasn't seen in a few decades. Let's read Genesis chapter 33.
The book of Genesis. Genesis 33. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maidservants. He put the maidservant and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Then the maidservants and their children approached and bowed down. Next Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. Esau asked, "What do you mean by all these droves I met?" "To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. But Esau said, "I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." "No, please," said Jacob. "If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God now that you have received me favorably. Please accept the present that was brought to you. For God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need." And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted. Then Esau said, "Let us be on our way, I'll accompany you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I move along slowly at the pace of the droves before me and that of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir." Esau said, "Then let me leave some of my men with you." "But why do that?" Jacob asked. "Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord." So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. After Jacob came from Padan Aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Elohe Israel.
Now, after 20 years, Jacob and Esau will be face to face again. Verse 1 says, "Then Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming, and 400 men with him. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the two maids." So in preparation for his brother coming, because at this point Jacob doesn't exactly know what's going to happen between he and Esau, he put all the children with their mothers. Now Jacob spreads his family out. Esau with their mother, and he bows himself to his brother. Notice verses 2 and 3. "And he being Jacob, put the maids and their children in front, and Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. But he himself passed on ahead of them and bowed down to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother Esau." So it's very clear that the reason why Jacob is doing this is because he is trying to stick with his he wants to already come off on Esau's good side. Now Esau no longer hates his brother, but is happy to see him. Notice verse 4. Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. So we see over time Esau has let bygones be bygones, if you will, and much to Jacob's surprise, his brother ran and hugged him and kissed him instead of sending his men to fight and kill. Now Esau looks past Jacob and sees women and children and inquires who they are. Verse 5 says, "And he lifted his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, 'Who are these with you?' And he said, 'The children whom God has graciously given your servant.'" So Esau, immediately behind Jacob sees these women and children and wonder exactly who are those with him. And there he finds out. Now, the 4 women and children pay honor to Esau as well. Notice verses 6 and 7. "Then the maids came near with their children, and they bowed down. And Leah likewise came near with her children, and they bowed down. And afterwards Joseph came near with Rachel, and they bowed down." So, also fearing for Jacob, his children and the wives, if you will, do exactly the same thing that Jacob does. Now, Esau asked Jacob, "Well, what's with the present?" Notice verses 8 and 9. "And he said," he being Esau, "What do you mean by all this company which I have met?" And he said, "To find favor in the sight of my Lord." But Esau said, "I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have be your own." Now, if you already forgot what the present was Jacob prepared for Esau, let's turn back a chapter and let's go back to Genesis 32. Turn back one chapter to Genesis 32, and let's reread verses 13 through 16. "So he spent the night there. Then he selected from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their coats, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. And he delivered them into the hand of his servants. Every drove by itself and said to his servants, 'Pass on before me,' and put a space between droves." So that's just to remind you of exactly what it was, the present that Jacob prepared for Esau. Now, we see that Esau wants nothing to do with this gift since he has his own blessing. As you recall, he just told his brother, "That's okay. I have plenty. Keep what you have." Now, Jacob begs Esau to take his gift. In verses 10 and 11, Jacob said, "No, please, if now I have found favor in your sight, then take my present from my hand, for I see your face as one sees the face of God, and he received me favorably. Please take my gift which has been brought to you, because God has dwelt graciously with me, and because I have plenty." Then he urged him, and he took it. All right. So now we see Esau is ready to journey, but Jacob needs to move slower, maybe because of his hip, although he says it is because of the children and cattle in verses 12 and 14, which read, "Then Esau said, 'Let us take our journey and go, and I will go before you.' But he said to him, 'My Lord knows that the children are frail, and that the flocks and herd which are nursing are a care to me. And if they are driven hard, one day all the flock will die. Please let my Lord pass on before his servant, and I will proceed at my leisure, according to the pace of the cattle that they are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord at Seir.'" Now, what we see here is that now they are going to Seir, which is actually modern day Jordan. So it gives you an idea of where they're going. Esau wants to leave some of his men with Jacob's company, maybe for protection. Verses 15 and 16. Esau said, "Please let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." But he said, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. So, we don't know exactly why Esau said it, but we can just assume, I suppose, that he did it for protection, saying, "Well, at least let some of my people stay back with you." Now, Jacob goes to Succoth. I thought that he was supposed to meet Esau in Seir. Verse 17 says, Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built for himself a house and made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the place is named Succoth. Now, Succoth is northeast of the Dead Sea, in what later will be Gad's territory. So to give you an idea where he went. Now Jacob moves to Shechem. Verse 18 says, Now Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram and camped before the city. Now Shechem is south of modern-day Dothan. Okay, now Jacob buys the piece of land. In verse 19, it says, And he brought the piece of land where he had pitched his tent from the hand of the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. Notice again, money is in the Old Testament. You know, every time I get a chance, I'm going to point that out. All right. Now, Jacob builds an altar and calls it El Elohai Israel. Notice verse 20. Then he erected there an altar and called it El Elohai Israel. Now, El Elohai Israel means the mighty God of Israel. That brings us to the end of Genesis chapter 33. It appears, and we will know more as we go on, that Jacob is he's happy to see his brother Esau, but it still seems that he hasn't exactly learned his lesson, because they were supposed to go to Seir together. And as we see, Jacob went a whole nother route after he told Esau that he couldn't keep up. So I don't know if this was Jacob's plan from the beginning, if he thought this out all the way through that way, but needless to say, that's exactly what he did. Okay, that's all for now. God bless.